This is Waiting for an Opportunity, Boosting Your Job Search. I'm Bridget Baggett with Career Innovations. I'm the Director of Recruiting. Again, thank you for joining us on our workshop. Just a little overview about me and about what Career Innovations does. We are a recruitment agency or a staffing agency. We're more so of a boutique headhunting firm. What we do is staffing and recruiting. Again, I'm the Director of Staffing and Recruiting for Career Innovations. I do see ourselves as true innovators. We take an innovative approach on finding top talent. We also find ways to find talent in unconventional ways, far as looking and utilizing resources that many people may not look and utilize to find some of the top talent that we do surface. One of my true passions is organizational change. I think that an organizational culture starts with the company's overall core values. It's the foundation for attracting and retaining top talent. I truly believe that once you're able to offer candidates what they want and be able to provide an environment where they're able to be productive in, you would never have to worry about too much of high retention or high turnover, I should say. So I think that that's something that's the basis of finding top talent. The quote of the day is, "A man travels the world over in search of what he needs and returns home to find it." That was by George Moore. I think this is a great quote, and I think that this will also highlight some of the things that we're going to talk about in our program today. How a lot of people are trying to improve on what they're doing or trying different techniques, and sometimes all you need is right in front of you. So we're going to talk about some of the techniques that people are using now. On this picture right here of me, I'm an avid skydiver, so I do like to skydive. So that's me actually suiting up to jump. So if any skydivers on the line, I salute you. It takes a lot of courage to go up there. Waiting for an opportunity. There's no security in life, only opportunity. And I've used this quote on several of my presentations because I like to encourage people that there are opportunities out there. No one can guarantee you anything. You have to find it within yourself to create your opportunities and actually act on them. First thing we're going to talk about, not just waiting for an opportunity, but going out and getting that opportunity. And the first thing you need to know when you go out to get those opportunities, you have to know your target. Unless you're in a defined niche, you're at a place where thousands of people do what you do. They can have the same skill set as you or possess the same type of background or education. And many times they're applying to some of the same jobs that you're applying to. So what? What makes your efforts any different? Everyone is waiting for that opportunity to showcase their abilities and achievements in front of the decision makers. But instead of waiting, what can you be doing right now to place yourself in front of the line? And if all you're doing is waiting, you're going to be easily overlooked. Employers want the overachievers. They're looking for the innovators. And since we're in a slowly shifting market right now, the ball is actually in their court. They have so many people applying to these positions. They have a little bit of wiggle room to be choosy. So what are you going to do to stand out from everyone else? How are you going to stand out in a pile of 100, 500, even thousands of resumes that look exactly like you, that do exactly what you do? And that's the first thing we're going to talk about, is knowing your target. Meaning knowing exactly who the decision makers are, or at least one person that will be in the decision making process. And it's not hard to find this information out. Technology has put this information at our fingertips. Not only LinkedIn, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have directories, we have all types of technology or resources out there where everyone is literally either an email or a phone call away. So you should also be researching your target. Some of you are waiting for that phone to ring, or waiting by the line, waiting for someone to pick up, and there are a lot of people that have applied to so many jobs, they really don't know what they apply to on a professional level. The first step is to know who you're trying to market to. Is it just somebody that's just willing to hire you? Are you making a conscious effort to research the direct reports of the positions that you're applying to and attempting to make some type of professional connection? You know, you have to ask yourself these questions. Am I just applying to anything? Many people are not even applying to jobs. They're applying to keywords. You know, it has that buzzword. It has that keyword. Well, I know how to do that. Let me apply. Well, I know how to do this. Let me apply. So you really want to be able to, and it goes back to revealing and searching for what you truly want to do. And it takes some soul searching. It takes some time for you to actually reflect where you are professionally and where do you want to be. And this is not something that you can just jump online and figure it out through a couple hundred job postings. This is something that's going to have to take time for you to sit back and evaluate the pros and cons of your professional situation. And a lot of people have not done that, and they find themselves in the same situation year and year again looking for that new opportunity. And it's not because, you know, some of the economic changes that's happened, but some people are professionally not where they want to be. And that's because they have not taken the time to sit back and reflect on what do I truly want to get out of my next career move. You know, and again, we do have the people that are, you know, I'm just looking for a paycheck. You know, so you really want to take time to figure out what do you want to do and attempt to make those professional connections. Next one is you want to be persistent and consistent. You know, whether it's sending emails, articles of interest, or if you're just picking up the phone cold calling, you want to make sure you're following through on everything that you say you're going to do, whether or not you get a response or not. That's the key. That right there is the key, whether or not you get a response or not, because a lot of people out there are not getting responses. And I can tell you, if I wasn't persistent and consistent in my business, I would be out of business, because people do not respond to me on the first or the second time I actually send an email or actually make a phone call. Sometimes it takes me 3 or 4 or 5 times to reach a decision maker. And you know what that persistence and consistency does? It shows that I am a hard worker, and it also shows that I'm willing to do what it takes. It's a reflection of my work ethic. You know, even if they don't respond back, I at least am going to do what I say I'm going to do. It's been times when I say, you know what, I'm going to follow up on Thursday, even though I haven't even received a confirmation Tuesday when I initially reached out. I'll still follow up on Thursday, because that's what I said I was going to do. So you want to make sure that you're persistent and you're very consistent when you are reaching out to decision makers. And it's not just sitting by the phone waiting for that email, waiting for that phone call, or waiting for that recruiter. It's about having the tenacity to reach out to these decision makers boldly and showing that you have what it takes to, to actually reach out and step outside of your comfort zone, because that's really truly is. Nobody wants to hear the word no. Nobody wants to be rejected, and that's what cold calling is, because you're going to get the no's. You're going to get people that aren't going to, be willing to help you, that probably have the power to help you. But it's about moving past that, and even if you're not able to get an opportunity from the person that you initially reached out to, you won't believe how many people will actually encourage you to reach out to other people and give you active leads. You know, just because they see something in you that a lot of people may not see just through an email. Next thing you want to do is get their attention. And by getting their attention, it can be something that's being creative. I knew one of the candidates I work with, they used to send articles of interest. And the beauty of it was it had nothing to do with the job. And what I mean by that, it wasn't an email that was asking, what's my status, or I'm just following up to see where I stand. It wasn't any email like this. He got creative, that he found out of the dynamics of the organization that he was trying to get employed with. He figured out some of their weaknesses, and he would send articles of interest about their competitors to the organization. It was usually either the hiring manager or the person that was a part of the decision-making process. Either it was a person in HR or the person that was over that direct hire, basically the person he would be answering to if he did get the position. And again, it wasn't an automatic response. But he did this over a couple of weeks, which in turn turned into months. And at that particular time, the role that where he was trying to get had been filled. But they were so impressed by some of the, the recommendations he would send in the articles, they actually created a position for this guy. Now, I can't make this stuff up. This was actually a guy that, they didn't even have a position available, but they were so, they were so intrigued, and not only intrigued, they were so impressed, I should say, by the tenacity of this guy to send articles and interests that had nothing to do about winning the job. It was just things that their competitors were doing that they thought that the organization could implement. And they said, you know what, this person can bring our organization value. We really need to bring this person on board. So that's when I say get their attention. You have to find a way within your industry, because I don't know everyone's industry that's on the phone, but within your industry, you have to figure out a way. What can I do to stand out among the 100 or 500 people that do exactly the same thing I do? Or their resume or their background or their education is identical to mine. What can I do to stand out? How can I grab that decision maker's attention? And that's just a story about a guy that grabbed the attention just by sending articles and interests. And it wasn't spam, and we would do it on either a weekly or bi-weekly basis, but it was just to keep his name at the top of their mind. So once they got those emails, they knew exactly who was sending them. And that's all he wanted, name recognition. So when he did pick up the phone to reach out to that decision maker, they already knew who this person was. It wasn't a cold call, so that's what we're looking at, getting their attention. Next thing, we're going to talk about some job search strategies. I think some of these strategies, some may be using now, some may not be using. And mind you, this is just a snapshot of what you can be doing. If I talked about every single thing that you could be doing, this would definitely go over an hour. But first thing I want to talk about is what you're currently doing. A lot of people are just doing, I just call it job board surfing. That's really what I call it. You're on job boards, you're just putting in keywords, trying to figure out what's out there. You find a buzzword that you can do and you apply. And that's pretty much what everyone's doing. For some of the job search strategies, I recommend using niche boards. If you are going to use job boards, definitely try to locate a niche board. And if you're not familiar with a niche board it's a board or a career portal where employers post jobs only in a particular area. A good example of a niche board would be, a big niche board would be Dice. Dice is known for one thing, IT. That's where all the IT jobs are. You won't see anything else but IT jobs. They have niche boards just for, HR professionals. They have niche boards just for construction jobs. That's all that's on there are construction jobs. So that's when I say niche board. How to find a niche board is just simply either doing a job search for your job title in Google or whatever search engine you want to use. And then usually the job boards that are dedicated to that job title are going to pop up first. Like I said, if I put in IT developer, Dice will pop up before any other job board. So you definitely want to do your homework to see if you can find there. And a lot of people are just constrained to those big five job boards, and those are your Indeed, Career Builder, Monster, Simply Hire, LinkedIn. So people have just only been restricted to those sites because that's all they know, and you find yourself applying to the same jobs over and over again. So you want to be able to broaden your horizons by looking at niche boards, because guess what? You're going to find a lot of companies that aren't posted on these huge job boards. Why? Because some of the niche boards cost less, and that's good for the employer, because guess what? I don't have to pay $500 a post. I can pay 80 or 90 bucks a post. So some of the smaller to medium-sized business find that it's much more economically feasible to use a niche board, and plus it generates best results because now you're only targeting that small group of audience. Next thing you want to also do is look at startups. A lot of people overlook startup companies. They so much focus on the Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, and guess what? So is everybody else. You want to cut your competition in half? Look at a startup. They're dying to get employees right now. You know, some of these startups are diamonds in the roughs. You know, a lot of these Fortune 500 companies started off as startups. So you really want to look at startups. Many of these startups are steadily growing, but unfortunately they're under-recognized. There are many sites out there that are dedicated solely to startups. If you have a pen and pad, I can list, I think, one or two. I have them. If you don't, you can go to the website. I actually did a blog on useful tools for job seekers, and two of the ones I'm going to mention are on that list. One is Angel List, Angel, like ANGEL, List. You actually can go on there. These are startups that some of them are actually pretty seasoned startups, I want to call them, because I know YEP is on there, YELP. You know, even though I wouldn't even consider it a startup, because they're pretty much have all the funding that they requested, and they're growing. So there's a lot of companies on there that you wouldn't consider startups, but there are a lot of startups that are just now getting funding, have the resources, and they're looking to hire people. And the beauty about AngelList is that you can search for jobs and you can narrow it down to demographics, company size, and also the particular role that you're looking for. So you can narrow it down to the industry that you're looking to get in. Another one is 500 Inc. I hope everyone has heard of 500 Inc. If you not, 500 Inc. is known for, they're released out every year, the fastest growing businesses or companies. They can break it down throughout the United States, or they can break it down in a particular region. They're very well known for breaking these companies down. If you go to 500 Inc., just like AngelList, there are a lot of small to medium-sized companies that you would not even know exist. There were a lot of startups. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. There are a lot of startups that were the fastest growing companies that I didn't even know were in Charlotte when I did a search on them. I was like, wow, this company's actually here. You know, and they're getting awards for it. And like I said, a lot of these companies are under-recognized, but they're making power moves and you don't even know. So you definitely want to go to 500 Inc. Again, you can filter these companies by demographics, revenue, and even company size. A lot of these 500 Inc. or these small startups aren't using these big job boards. They're finding a lot of people by word of mouth, and they're finding a lot of people just by posting these positions on their site. And that's, I can see it, where the problem lies, because if you don't know the company exists, how can you apply to the job on their site? So now they're on these resources I'm telling you about to check them out. Use company directories. Don't just limit yourself to those job boards. Manta is free. You can filter Manta from small to medium-sized businesses in your location. I have done a lot of work as far as building up clients through Manta and through some of the, like I said, through AngelList and 500 Inc. I have used some of these resources to reach out to companies that aren't on the big job boards. Again, you can use this to find businesses that are hiring, but again, their positions aren't posted on LinkedIn or aren't posted on CareerBuilder. Look them up. You can find these positions that way. Networking events, offline and online. That's another one, and I stress online and offline because a lot of people, when they think of networking, well, they're thinking of, you know, well, I build up my social media network, and that's a great thing to do. But now we live in such a technology-driven society, nothing beats face-to-face interaction. What I think that everyone should look at is finding events that are going on in your network or in your demographic or your city that are related directly to what you're trying to do. And don't limit yourself just to entertainment type positions or not positions, entertainment type events, or when I say entertainment, because a lot of people end up going to these events that really aren't conducive to their ultimate goal. I would start looking for conferences, job fairs that are going to be going on in your area. Also start looking at industry-related associations that have meetings and events. I can just think of one closely related to me would be HR. So our industry-related association would be SHRM, which is Society of Human Resource Management. Now, for someone else that's in a different industry or engineering is going to have a totally different association that's affiliated with that particular industry. So when I say networking events, look for networking events that are going to be closely related to the industry that you're looking to get into. A lot of these events that these organizations put on, they're free. You know, they're open to the public. Of course, members, they want members to come, and they do want to bring non-members because that's how they grow their association. So look for networking events like that. Unplug and pick up the phone. It goes back to actually moving beyond just sending those emails and actually getting your voice in your face in front of the decision makers. And if you ever look at any of my videos involving marketing yourself, I sound like a broken record when I say this because cold calling works. And I know a lot of people say it's old school, they move past it, but being honest is back to the basics. Nothing beats a phone call. Nothing beats put up the phone. The only thing someone can do when you pick up the phone if they don't want to talk to you is hang up. You know, especially when you're sending an email, they can't respond. You know, but I'd rather get a direct answer on the phone because guess what? It pushes me closer to that yes or no much more faster than waiting weeks on weeks on weeks for an email to be replied back to. So if you want to cut out the bull, pick up the phone. So I think that if you can find out who the decision makers are, and a lot of times, especially on LinkedIn, they have the person that posts the job, and it's usually somebody in HR, and sometimes they actually have the direct hiring manager that posts the job on a lot of these sites. I would directly reach out to them, of course, after you filled out the application and you think your qualifications meet. You could pick up the phone and not just ask the status of your resume, but also ask, you know, where everything is in the process. You'll never know what's happening behind the scenes. There's many jobs that have been put on hold. And, you know, you may not know that, and you may be waiting for a call back not knowing that this position has been put off or the position is closed. There's a lot of positions that are still posted that have already been filled. You know, and again, the company, or I should say the hiring manager or HR, or you know, may have dropped the ball and not closing that position down and still allowing candidates to apply even though it's been filled. But it's also very physically and psychologically draining waiting to get a response that may never come. So you want to unplug and pick up the phone and reach out to these decision makers. I go in depth on some of the workshops that we have on how to do that and how to actually locate the decision makers as far as their emails, contact information. It's different websites that you can use if you know how to do Boolean searches. That's something that we talk about in other workshops as well on how to actually do an effective Boolean search to locate the decision makers and get direct email addresses within organizations. And usually to pick up the phone only requires a name. So if you know the person's name, you know, and just call in the company and they would direct you either their extension or connect you directly to their line. Next thing we're going to talk about is know your competition. Do not wait to strike the iron or till it's hot. Make it hot by striking. And basically is knowing your competition. I think that's something that people kind of underestimate, and especially in this society where everyone is applying to that same job. You want to know what's going to make you competitive, and you want to know how do you measure up to everyone else. And if you're in a general field where, you know, you're going to have high competition, and this applies to everyone in general, but there are certain niches out there where the competition isn't as heavy, especially if you're in a niche where, you know, you're 1 in 1,000, and the reason why the position is open because they just can't find people, you know, that's a totally different story. You know, you may be the only person in their applicant tracking system. Versus someone that they may have a job or a general position, customer service, anything of that nature, where you may have quite a bit of candidates that you're competing against. You want to know what makes you competitive. What makes you stand out from everyone else that does that position? And reason why you want to know this, because this information right here is what you're going to use once you get a chance to talk to those decision makers. You want other dialogue other than how's my application or where I am in the hiring process. You want to be able not only to sell yourself, but you want to also be able to sell a solution. The reason why that position is open is they have a problem that needs to be solved, and they're hiring someone to solve it. What are you going to say to make you competitive, and how are you going to solve that particular problem? That's how you're going to market yourself, and that's how you're going to stand out against everyone else that's applying to that same position. If you're not sure how you measure up, go look at people that have the exact same background as you and compare notes. You know, or if you're applying to a company for a position that currently already exists, you can look at people that are already in that role. LinkedIn has made that super easy. You can filter companies by demographics. You can even filter the employees in companies by job titles. So you can actually look up people that are doing exactly what you're either trying to do or applying to do, and see, how do you measure up to everyone else? How do you measure up to someone that already works in that organization? You also want to know why your skill set is in demand. Even if you're in an industry where your skill set's not in demand, what are some things that you can do either to change the skill set, or what can you do to find a way to make what you're currently doing now, how can you alter that to make that competitive in the future? So you want to know why your skill set is in demand. And this really goes for, I know for IT and engineering, these are big places where, depending on where you live, certain skill sets are in demand compared to other places where they're not. You really want to know why they're in demand, because the employer wants to know, okay, if I'm hiring someone to do this particular job, you know, what would the 5 years of employing you going to bring the organization? So you want to also be able to market yourself on a longevity term to show that, you know, I'm in this for the long haul, and this is why. What are some of the strengths, some of your strengths and weaknesses in the same as your competition? And what I mean by some of your strengths and weaknesses, you might as well go ahead and get this down, because this is something that's kind of like a cliche question that employers ask anyway in so many ways. It may not be directly worded as what are some of your strengths and weaknesses, but they do want to identify, okay, what are some of the things that you can bring to the table, and what are some of the things that you think you need to work on? And these are also things that you should know about not only your competition that is applying to the same job, but you also want to know this about the organization that you're applying to. And what I mean by that, the organization itself has some of its strongest points, but compared to its competition, it may be weak in areas. You want to know these things. They want to know that not only have you done your research on the organization, that you can offer solutions that's going to push the organization forward. So that's why you want to know some of the weaknesses and strengths not only you can bring to the table, but what the organization has as a whole. Okay, and we'll wrap it up. We are about 33 after. Like I said, I do like to spend the last 30 minutes opening up the lines to people that may have questions. Again, it does not have to be directly related to what we spoke about in these slides, but I do like to give time for everyone to let me know if there's any questions that I can answer as far as marketing yourself. If it has nothing to do with marketing yourself, I'm open to answer any questions regarding your career search or any challenges that you may currently be having. Okay, I do have a question regarding resumes. Okay, this question is, would you change your resume for every employer that you apply for to make it more competitive? Well, depending on what you are applying to, I definitely will put some of the key things in there regarding the company. I know that some people, when they're sending out email, I call them email blasts, and they're just sending out emails to everyone, and it's kind of like they're just changing the name of the person they're addressing it to. But I know some people that don't even address it to anyone. It just starts out with, you know, hello, who they are, and you know, it's not even tailored to a particular receiver. So that right there, when someone says, because I'm telling you from personal experience, when someone sends me something that seems like it's been sent as a blast, I normally don't even read it, and I think that a lot of people feel like this because you get so many of them. So I think the key is to be able to tailor it to the person that you're reaching out to. And if you're doing this right, and that's why I said it goes back to being able to target your market and know exactly who your audience is. When you're doing this right, you shouldn't have to apply to hundreds and hundreds of jobs. In honesty, you shouldn't have to even do an email blast. If you're tailoring this right and you're getting the attention of the job of the actual decision maker, you should be able to put some things together that are custom for that particular organization and get feedback on that. Even if it's a no, and because I say feedback is feedback, even if it's a no. But more likely, even if it's a no, if you can at least position yourself to receive assistance, which I mean by this, if they say no, you can respond back saying, well, this is what I'm looking for, or XYZ, this is what I'm looking for. Is there anyone that you can forward me to that would be a better assistance? And the thing is, once you start to build a dialogue, you start to build trust. And people love to do business with people they like and they trust. And once you're able to do that, they'll be more than happy to say, hey, we may not be hiring, but I know XYZ that is. Here's their contact information. Yes, you can use my name, or you can forward, or you can copy me on the email. So that's what it's really about, being able to actually tailor this and make this more of a custom. Nobody wants to feel as if they're on the list of 100 other emails. And I'm pretty sure if you receive the email, and I don't even know why people do this, at least if you're going to do it, hide the emails or blind copy everyone. But I've actually received emails where I can actually look at everyone's email on the email. So you definitely want to be considerate of that. But nothing beats, like I said, picking up the phone. If you send the email and you're not getting a response, my second line of defense would be picking up the phone and reaching out to them. So at least if they hear your voice, they'll take it serious. Plus, they're more inclined to, let me at least call back or shoot them an email, even if it is no. Because a lot of times these recruiters are receiving these emails time and time again. That's why you really want to try to get involved with the decision maker. And I don't really want to say go around the recruiter, but in the sense, if you're not getting traction with that recruiter, I will also try to figure out, okay, who else is in the hiring process that I can actually reach out to and talk to and get the ball rolling. Okay, do I see any more questions down here? You mentioned the articles of interest. Is there anything else that you can do that's creative? Yes, the articles of interest that I mentioned was tailored strictly to the guy that did it for his industry. The creativity is going to have to come from what's going to make you creative and stand out in your industry. That article of interest may not work for everyone. You may be in an industry where, article of interest about your competitor means nothing to them. Or you may be in a niche where you really wouldn't have that much material in that industry to even send an article of interest on. So you will have to find creative ways to market yourself. Some creative ways that I've talked about in past workshops was one of them was blogging. Excuse me, that was one of them. Blogging was one of them. And also, I have everyone take a look. If you ever have a chance, go to our YouTube channel, because I post all these workshops that we do. I record them and I put them on our YouTube channel, because there are a lot of people that sign up and miss the workshop, so they can go back and look at them. We actually did a workshop on marketing yourself and ways that you can market yourself. One of them was blogging, having a personal website. We've already talked about picking up the phone and cold calling, and it's really becoming an expert in your industry. That's what you want to be seen as, someone that can bring something of value to the table. And you want to be easily accessible as well. A lot of times people don't know that you're looking for a job because they can't find you. If your appearance is only in someone's ATS system, how would someone that may be passively looking for someone not stumble upon you? I actually, as a recruiter, I'm not looking for something directly as if I'm applying to everything, but I've been offered positions just because I'm visible. Now I'm visibly online. I visibly, again, doing these workshops. Someone stumbles across a video or stumbles across a blog, and I get offered, positions sometimes, and I'm not even actively looking. So you want to position yourself where you're not only visible through someone's job board, but you're also visible online, period, where someone can still come across your profile or come across some of your credentials and may take interest of reaching out to you directly. Have any more questions? Okay, I do see someone's hand raised. I'm going to unmute your line. Okay, your line is unmuted. I have your line unmuted. Can you, well, I guess, were you trying to type your question instead?
I don't have a mic.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. I just wanted to know, if there's any other websites aside from LinkedIn that's good for, networking. Because I know that there's a website that's called Unwire. Is there any other networking websites that we can use?
Yes. The other websites, I actually would look at forums as well. Don't limit yourself just to the social media platform, because when people think of network, like you said, a lot of people think of we have a social profile and you're reaching out like a Facebook or like Twitter. Those are the big networks. But also look at, I know a lot of people use Yahoo groups. Look at some of the forums that go on. Again, this is also something that's also related to industry-related associations where people are only talking about particular topics directed to a particular industry, where they only have people in this profession that have dialogue back and forth with each other. So I definitely would check out sites like that as well. I don't know any directly offhand. I just know that a lot of people use different groups and different forums. I know Google Hangouts start to put together different forums where people in different industries can hang out at, and they can put articles in there and talk among themselves or chat among themselves. But also look at different, like I said, industry related associations where they have their own type of portal. I know for us, for HR, we have the whole portal we log into, and we can chat with other HR professionals and send questions. If we have a question about a particular law, we'll talk about, hey, how would you handle this situation? So you want to look for sites like that tailored to and you're going to get the best, the best results where you can find sites that are going to tailor directly to what you're trying to do, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you.
Okay. See if we have any more questions out here. No, I don't see any more questions tonight. Well, it looks like we're going to be wrapping up. We're about a quarter till. This will be online if you have any other questions about what we spoke about. My contact information is on the last slide. At the end of this workshop, there's a survey. It's about 10 questions, all multiple choice. Some have where you can type in your text, and just let me know how this presentation was. Also, any topics you would like to talk about in the future that may have not been covered tonight. We definitely can put together a workshop and offer this next time. We do this every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if it's something that didn't get answered, you can jump on the line next week and we can do this again. Thank you so much for your time. Definitely fill out the survey, and hopefully I can hear from anyone if they have any questions in the near future. Talk to you soon.